Ah, the Ford Fiesta ST, a car that many would deem one of the best hot hatches on the market, but would never buy because, well, stereotypes. Out of all the fast cars I've driven, funnily enough, I've never had a go in one of these, which is strange really, as this is usually where the car enthusiast story begins, picking up your suspiciously young-looking girlfriend and giving every dog in the neighbourhood Vietnam flashbacks with your pop and bang map. Fundamentally though, this car gets good reviews every single time, so why not give it a go, eh? My name's Tom, and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. Now, this particular car was given to us by a friend with a spec sheet that reads as follows: Maxton design kit, tinted windows, smoked front and rear lights, induction kit, and a stage 1 remap ? It's a bit rough and ready as I haven't had time to clean it, but overall I think it's certainly one of the more tastefully modded cars. The engine usually starts with 180 brake horsepower and 240 Nm of torque. But if this car does have a stage 1 map, it should be in the 210 to 220 bhp range, and torque should be around 340 Nm, a very healthy increase in torque then. Let's see how this pocket rocket does on the 30 to 70 sprint. Looks like this car is stage 1 then, as we managed a time of just 6 seconds. That's only 0.7 seconds slower than a Mark III Focus RS. Very impressive stuff, but it wasn't quite enough to beat the Abarth or the TT. Having said that, I might need to rerun the Audi TT's time again though, as it does seem a bit too quick for a 2-litre diesel. Coming to the inside, the first thing you notice are these rather nice Recaro sports seats. They certainly look comfortable. I guess we'll have to find that out later though. The rest of the interior isn't half bad either. It's certainly no Audi A3, but for its price it's got everything you'd want. Heated seats, sat-nav, good air conditioning, and enough storage for your stash. The cup holders even have grippy bits, which you don't usually see in smaller cars like this. It might seem trivial, but having your drink flop about can be pretty frustrating. The metal pedals are also a very nice touch, and tell you that this is something a bit more spicy than your standard Fiesta. The rear seats are kind of weird. Headroom is very decent for a small car, and legroom is manageable on short journeys, but the actual backrest is very small. I mean, it almost feels like you're sitting on a stool. The boot has a pretty good amount of space for such a small car. At 292 litres, it'll fit one big suitcase, a small one, and actually a duffel bag as well. Right, let's find out how this pocket rocket drives. So we're back to basics then. As usual, we're going to start off around town, then move on to the motorway, and then finally do some twisty road driving. I'm sure this car is going to be more fun than my Seat Leon Cupra, but the main thing I'm interested in is actually how it performs as a daily. Initial impressions then. So back there I went over some speed bumps, and you do notice that this Fiesta is stiffly sprung, which, you know, kind of makes sense. It's supposed to be a hot hatch after all. Steering is nice and light though. The other thing you notice pretty much straight away is just how easy this car is to drive for a manual. It's always been my gripe with VAG cars. The clutch, for some reason, has a really pronounced bite point, whereas this Fiesta is much easier to drive. You never feel like you're going to stall the car by accident. In terms of parking, because this Fiesta is a small car, it is pretty easy, although we don't actually have parking sensors on this. I do believe it's an option though. And for some reason, Ford never really give their cars good steering lock, especially their RS models. This ST seems to be kind of the same. It's not quite as good as it could be. But obviously, because it's small, it's still really not that hard to park, even without parking sensors. Another thing that's really nice actually is just the gear shift. It feels very similar to the Mark III RS I reviewed a while ago. And it's mechanical, but it's not super notchy, so you never feel like you're going to miss-shift a gear. Then coming out of junctions, because that bite point is easy to find. Throttle response is also very good. It does exactly what you tell it to do. And the induction kit is something that sounds really good on this car. So far, it actually feels like a mini Focus RS. Okay, let's reset the trip computer so we can see what MPG we get on the motorway. Before we get on the motorway, let's see how this Fiesta ST2 handles a roundabout. I'm going to go for ESC off, or sports mode as they call it. Another thing I noticed is, I don't know if it has rev matching or not, but if it doesn't, it's very easy to rev match. There's always slow drivers in front of you, isn't there? Turning is fantastic on this car. Really wants to get round a corner quickly. So what about refinement on the motorway then? Well, wind noise is very good. It's quite a sleek car for a hot hatch, and the windscreen is raked backwards quite a bit, so there's not much wind noise. Road noise is also okay. It's about the same as pretty much every other hot hatch in this segment. Then visibility, even though this has got large windows, it is actually quite hard to see in your blind spot. The B-pillar is pretty much exactly where your blind spot actually is, but that's helped by having these curved bits of glass in the wing mirror. Still though, it's not quite as easy as something like the Polo GTI. But then the steering and suspension are actually pretty good. I did read quite a few reviews on this car before doing this video, and they all seem to mention that the suspension was quite bouncy on the motorway. And whilst you notice it's stiff, over a long journey it would certainly not be a problem for me. And the steering, yeah, it feels absolutely fantastic. If anything, it feels better than my Cupra, to be honest. Gives you really nice turning, but on the motorway it stays absolutely dead straight, and you can feel what the front wheels are doing pretty easily. You get plenty of feedback. In terms of seating position, it's actually really good as well. I can't get the seat quite as low as I would like to, but compared to a lot of other hot hatches in this segment, it's probably one of the best. Then of course the seat itself, I mentioned in the intro, it certainly looks comfy, and it is very comfortable to sit in. It gives you plenty of support and it hugs you really nicely, but it's not too firm to be uncomfortable on a long journey. Then of course for those longer journeys you want a good sound system, and I'm happy to say it's actually not that bad in this car. I don't know if these came with Bluetooth audio as standard, but for some reason I can't find it in the menu. But listening to music through an aux cable sounds pretty good actually. It's certainly not a patch on something like a Golf or a Cupra, but remember this is like a third of the price on the used car market. And for what it is, it's a pretty good system. The bass is actually the thing that I'm impressed by the most. It's got a really nice thump to it. But then of course, like any cheaper system, the mids and the highs leave something to be desired. Then interior quality, for a car of this price, it's actually pretty good. You've got sort of hard plastics here, but they're like not hard. It's kind of a weird thing. They're not soft touch, but they're not super scratchy. They kind of have this slightly rubberized feel to them. The dash is this squidgy material, and it's got a texture to it that actually looks pretty good. Everything down here is made of plastic, of course, but it's bolted together well and feels pretty solid. All the touch points in this car are pretty good. My only complaint would be the armrest. It doesn't seem to slide forwards, so resting your arm on it, you kind of have to sit at this like awkward angle to sort of get comfortable. Now, if I only could choose 3 things to do to this car when I bought it, the first spec I would choose would be the heated seats. In winter in the UK, leather seats do get very cold, and these are part leather, so having heated seats is something well worth having. Then the next thing I'd do is probably try and install a slightly better sound system. A slightly better sound system can make a car feel like a much more premium product to sit in. Then the last spec would actually be that intake. It sounds absolutely fantastic, just listen to it. You get that lovely blow-off valve sound every time you put your foot down. Right, we're coming off the motorway now, so what did we manage? 47 miles per gallon. I'll take that any day. That's 5 more than we managed in the Fiat 500 to Bath a couple of weeks ago. Still going up as well, actually. I reckon on a long journey you could probably get just about 51 miles per gallon out of this, which even for a little car is pretty good. I remember that's sitting over 2,000 RPM the whole bloody time as well. Right, enough boring stuff. Let's get on some twistier roads. This little car, I have to say, I don't like to admit it really, but it really comes alive on a B road. That manual box and the fact this is just a tiny car, easy to rev match. Oh, it's lovely. You can extract every ounce of performance. And I'm fairly sure this is stage 1. That front end grip is amazing though. For such a small car, it really bites into the road. And the thing is, it's just easy. Like, even in first, it just hooks. And you can change those gears fast. It almost eggs you on to change them quickly. Back end rotates really nicely. There's not a lot of torque steer either. It's a very easy car to drive fast. I could go up and down this road all day in this little car. Even in the wet, it gives you so much confidence to push it. What a fantastic little hot hatch. In fact, I'm going to go down this road again. You can feel the back end moving underneath you. I can see why this car gets such good reviews. Do you know what? On a B road, there's not a lot that would keep up with this, you know. But even around these slower corners, you just chuck it in. ESC is still on though, so it doesn't let you go completely mental. But wow, for a little hot hatch, it is a fun thing to drive. The real world acceleration is very good out of this. I think even for a stage 1 map, this car is pretty nippy. It's really not far off the Mark III Focus RS. And because it's smaller, it's a much less intimidating car to drive. Why did this car have to be so good? I have to admit, I came into this review thinking the Fiesta ST was going to be this overhyped, unrefined rattlebox that hid its flaws with funny noises and an unpredictable tendency to oversteer. But boy, was I wrong. This really is a true driver's car that feels much more polished than it has any right to be. The gearbox is up there with some of the best, as is the chassis and suspension. It rams off big bumps and progresses into oversteer in a way that inspires you with the utmost confidence. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this 65,000 mile Fiesta ST is more fun and fundamentally better to drive than almost every other car I've driven down that B road, and dare I say it, more fun than my Cupra. As always, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like, and why not subscribe? Not only can you see more videos like this, you can see all the cars we have for sale, which of course includes this annoyingly good Fiesta ST. Anyway, my name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.